to call this Finance Committee meeting to order and recognize Counselor Givner, Counselor Sullivan, Counselor Devine, and Counselor Ocasio. And we've also got Mayor Garcia here, as well as Brian Beauregard, to discuss item one. So first of all, or item two, excuse me. I'll read this, and then we'll go to item one, the minutes of the June 12th meeting. Motion.
It's online from our committee.
From our committee? The only one that's left is how, you had, yes, and he's not here yet, so, but I'd like to start on time because they've been here. Anyways, let's go back here. A motion to take a roll call vote that for the purposes of this meeting would be applicable to all motions to remove an item from the table, place items on the table, package items, or suspend the rules unless there is an objection. So the first thing I'd like to do is say that to welcome everybody, and that we're also on Holyoke Media, as well as Comcast Channel 15. So I'd like to take up item one, the minutes of the June 12th
Second.
meeting. Does anybody have any questions or problems with those minutes?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Motion to accept the minutes of June 12th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and we'll just welcome Counselor Jordan to the meeting. We just finished item one, Kevin. Okay, item two, dated 8/6/24 from Michael Sullivan, order that there be and hereby is appropriate by transfer in the fiscal year 2025, $250,000 as follows: from capital stabilization, $200,000; from sewer stabilization, $50,000, for a total of $250,000. And I would like a motion to let Counselor Sullivan speak on this. Take it up.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. And we also have Brian Beauregard from the Gas and Electric Company. Okay.
Really?
And I'd like to hear a motion to allow him to speak as well, because he's been on this ad hoc committee with Counselor Sullivan. So,
So I'd like to make a motion to invite Brian and the mayor both in to join us.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Come on in, gentlemen. Okay, so, Counselor Sullivan.
Thank you. So this is, this transfer is to provide the DPW and the ad hoc committee with the services that we need now, outside services from legal counsel and some outside engineering services, to put out a new RFP for our 20-year contract for the management of our wastewater treatment plant. It's going to be quite a bit different than the last 20 years. We're trying to address issues such as stormwater separation, really climate change, and all the other things that are affecting the city, and also ways now to make our new wastewater treatment facility an economic driver for the city. There's a lot of new technology out there. It's a little more complicated than what we've done for not only the last 20 years, but for the last 100 years. And it can be of great benefit to the city if done properly. Some of the ideas and possibilities out there are building an anaerobic putting in an anaerobic digester that's part of our treatment. This produces green electricity, is one of the things it could do. It also could market fertilizer. We could produce methane, oxygen, nitrogen, various other products now. So it actually becomes a revenue and job producer for the city. There's other possibilities for incorporating it with the waste products from other towns and collecting a tipping fee, so to speak, which would help to keep our own rate down for the residents of Holyoke. So I think, but this is a very complicated contract, RFP, with a lot of moving parts, and we will definitely, absolutely need these legal outside help and the outside engineering.
Thank you. And before we go to Brian, I just want to let people know that Counselor Vacan is on the line, Counselor Graney, President Tessa Murphy Ramboletti, and I don't see anybody else. So, Brian, if you'd like to go ahead, please do.
Thank you. Good evening, councilors, mayor, and others. So the biggest concern associated with where we are, we're 19 years into a 20-year contract. That contract is very outdated. That contract was very complex. That contract did have the ability to have change in law provisions, change in market provisions, change orders brought by either party, and very little incentive on either party to actually do anything over the time frame. So just to give you a quick history, that contract, when it started in 2005, they had a $17.7 million of capital, which was mostly the CSO, the combined sewer overflow. 2 years later, they amended it, added 2 more years onto it, and it ended up becoming a $24 million project completed in the 2009-2010 timeframe. There was one other project that was of capital significance that was done in 2009 in September. Outside of that, the last 14 years of the last 15 years out of the last 19, there has been no significant change orders. There was 2 very, very minor ones. There has been no capital improvements. Now, if you hear what Mike just said, over the last 15 years, there has been significant changes in the industry. It has evolved, it has morphed into an entity that can be self-sustaining, that can be very different than what we have today. We, the ad hoc committee, found ourselves in a kind of a catch-22 situation. It wasn't that we were dissatisfied with Veolia, but we were looking at it, if we do any extension for 5 years, that 5-year extension is not going to be filled with the goals and the innovation and the major changes. It's going to be year-to-year changes with no projections beyond a 3 to 5 year. It's going to be a short-term, mid-term contract length with no guarantee of what party gets it thereafter. It's going to lose the continuity. That's what our group strongly felt was needed, that we're in a position that, yes, we could negotiate with Veolia and extend the contract and even negotiate the contract, but we believe strongly that the negotiations and the modifications and the changes, those are all the things that we would be doing anyway associated with developing a new RFP for a long-term contract. The biggest concern that a number of us on the ad hoc committee had was that we're going to, and we got presented by Veolia in the final days leading up to a DPW vote, which is there are required capital projects on the table today. What I'm scared about, and looking at some of those capital projects, is some of those capital projects are going to get done only to be completely replaced when the new vision and the new modified facility takes place. I firmly believe that the most efficient, the most continued plan, and the best thing for the ratepayers and the taxpayers is to put out a new RFP and allow the 5 or 6 firms that are out there, and some might combine, to put in a proposal, and that should be the next step. These funds that are being requested from the city council are a required step to get there, and that's been a fully vetted, dollar of need as to what would be required to take it to the next step. And so that's my viewpoint, and it was uniform on the ad hoc committee to not extend the contract, but to go out for an RFP, and these funds are needed to get us there. And we have a quick time frame because we only have 14 months to get it completed.
Thank you, Brian. Also, I wanted to mention that that you're right, it is a tight timeline schedule. The RFP, and correct me if I'm wrong, would be December of 2024, and any questions submitted or answered Proposal due March 2025. That has to be reviewed. Then April and May of 2025, our negotiations are complete, and hopefully a signed agreement will take place July of 2025. Mayor, would you like to add anything? All set. And Helene from the Hoyoke Taxpayers Association, would you like to add anything? Thank you.
I'm just here to say that our organization has met with the group from the DPW twice now this past year, and we are in full support of, we're up to date. Mary has been wonderful. Carl has been great in communicating with us, and we're up to date with the need and support fully. Having the city support going out for the RFP. And, Viola has a chance to bid in on it also.
Yeah.
But this is bigger than the normal little bread box kind of stuff. It's major, and it is long-term, and it's for the future, and it would really be well-served for the city to have something that would be working this well going forward for the next 20 years. So I'm here to support that.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions for the
I just had
Councilor Jordan?
Yeah, if I may, I just had a little bit of a breakdown on the 50,000's obviously for legal, the 200 grand. What would be sort of the breakdown on who would be the recipient of the 200,000 for quote unquote professional services? What would be like a breakdown of that, please?
I don't have the specific, Kevin, so I can only.
Just ballpark even. Is your microphone on, by the way, Brian? Okay,
It is now.
thank you.
So there's legal, there's technical, there's marketing, and each one of those components was broken down into a basket of components. Now, the ad hoc committee had visited a few facilities.
That would be it.
We had also, with the support of Mary Monahan, Carl Rossi, and his staff, obtained a number of sample contracts and to see which ones look, like the way that we want to end up going. Even with the dollars that you just quoted, Councilor Jordan, it still involves taking these sample contracts and reviewing those based on a specific need. One of the other components is that the contract specifies a significant amount of activities that have to get completed within that, and we're in that phase. It started 15 months before the end of the contract. We're at 14 now. So they have to assess all their assets, physical, labor. They have to go through overhead. There's some components that are on the city's books. There's some components that may not be on Viola's books, and some are potentially even a hybrid. These contracts will take all of that stuff and put it back into a baseline perspective, no different than what the city had created back in 2003, 2004, when it had gone out for bid. It's a little tough situation, and it's a little more costly because both parties were not doing that over the full last 19 years of the contract. It would have been a lot easier if those things were kept updated, but they were not. I do want to make it clear that the staff at the plant are not impacted whether or not we end up going for an RFP, we end up extending the contract, but I do believe there's more continuity and more certainty in projects and getting that plant to be completely reshaped by doing the overhaul, by looking at the greater picture. I mean, even if we were just negotiating a contract for an extension, you're looking at easily $100,000 to $200,000 because you still have to analyze the assets and what you have together with everything else.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Givner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess The only thing was gonna ask was about, if you were to do an extension, what kind of cost would that incur? Because I wonder how reasonable it is to put out the RFP and definitely have a contract negotiated and ready to be signed in time for the end of Veolia's contract. So I would only be concerned about any lapse in service. But if what I'm hearing is that regardless, you have to spend the same amount of money, whether you put it out for RFP or extend a contract, it sounds like we'd have to spend double to extend a contract, and because we would still probably go out for RFP regardless.
Yeah,
correct?
and if you extended it, then you're sitting here for 5 years later, 4 years into
Yeah.
the next 5-year contract, and at that point, there is absolutely no extensions or anything else allowed, so you'd have to get back out and go for a long-term 20-year contract. And that's our biggest concern with this plant needs major work, and it's hard to fit major work in a short time frame. But it can be identified, and that we have proven to ourselves is possible. It's a fast track, but it's doable.
So we're essentially saving money.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd also like to welcome Councilor McGrath Smith as well. Any other questions from the mayor?
Yeah, no, I was just looking up some old emails here to answer Councilor Jordan's question. So, Councilor, they're looking at $50,000 of this funding to go toward legal services for the RFP, another $100,000 for, and this is roughly another $100,000 for technical services for the RFP, another $100,000 for owner's project rep, is what the notes say. In detail on each of those, I wouldn't be able to tell you, but roughly that's what they're looking at.
Okay. If someone could maybe just get back to us on the owner's project rep, like what would that be? I kind of think of that in the context of a construction, like a public, like a school building type project. We have an OPM or whatever, but, yeah, that sounds good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Does any
I
council?
think Brian can answer that
I
question.
can
Oh,
jump onto that last component. So
Sure.
the technical one identifies all the peculiarities of the plant, the assets as I spoke. So the last phase, the owner project services, that includes now the contracting side. So that's putting together all of the contracting documents from the RFP, the review of the RFP, the going through the documentation, and then the selection of a firm, maybe with a backup, and the negotiations and the discussions associated with them, then creating specific legal and contractual documents so that we would be in a position by, hopefully July, August of next year to have a contract 100% solidified, so there'll be a smooth transition at the end of September of next year. So you can think of it exactly, and I think that's what you were guessing, because that's what
Yeah.
you were saying at the end, was
Right.
that's the individual that is going to help the technical and legal teams provide support, but organize that final document to completion.
Thank you.
I also just want to mention that the monitors are not working, but we have one in front of us that is. So I will ask if any of the city councilors online have any questions or comments. Councilor Graney? No? Councilor Graney, did you have a question? No, it's not working. That's what I just said. Hoyok Media?
Does he have his hand up?
No, it's just bouncing back and forth.
Oh, okay. Oh.
He's on the phone.
It
Okay,
keeps
I
lighting up-
would,
It keeps lighting up and then going off.
yeah, I would entertain a motion then, if nobody has any other questions or comments, that we pass this
Yeah, so I'd
transfer.
make a motion to approve the transfer.
Is there a second?
Tessa has your hand up.
Huh?
Tessa
Oh, Counselor Murphy-Ramboletti, you have your hand up?
Is the audio in the room not working? Yeah, that's what I think. You're right.
Oh, you can't hear it. Yeah, Mike's.
Counselor, can you hear us at all?
you want me to?
She's got her hand raised, but she's not on,
She was on mute.
yeah.
We don't hear anything.
No.
The monitors are off.
I wonder if it's because you need to have the monitors to hear people on Zoom.
Could be.
And these didn't,
Tessa, you're on mute.
Yeah.
Okay. Tessa, can you hear us? I can't hear you. I still can't hear you, I'm
She
sorry.
said maybe we should take a brief recess or pause while you figure out the technicals.
I can tell you right now that Holyoke Media is trying to work on the monitors. So,
Make a motion that we take a 5-minute pause.
second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, Meg, I just really couldn't hear you. And this thing, everybody's bouncing around.
Get on your cell phone and call in.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause this is bouncing back and forth. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Just, if they don't fix it, what do we do? We can't cancel the meeting. You know, I think I should have worn my hearing aids today.
I'm just wondering if it's open meeting law violation if there's no recording, and I don't know if it is recording,
I don't know,
you know?
yeah. Well, Jeffrey is gonna check with Holyoke Media.
Planning, all my teachers are starting to come back in groups on Friday, and I'm sending my entire staff on this German. So I'm giving them the data for like what neighborhoods in Springfield our students come from. And then I'm gonna assign each group of teachers, like, okay, you gotta figure out Hungry Hill. Here, you
Yeah,
gotta
right.
figure out Redwood, you gotta figure out Pine Point. And I have a whole list, you gotta find a church, you gotta find a barber shop, you gotta find a business that sells food, a wedding somewhere, and you gotta take pictures.
Oh, wow.
Where you go, and then you're gonna have to come back, you got 2.5 hours to go, and everyone's gonna come back and we're gonna jigsaw it out, like, well, I went to Brightwood, here's what I found, I went to Plains, here's what I found.
Wow, that's fun.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, that's
It's a
fun.
good welcome back to the school year.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have so many teachers that I grew up in Springfield, like I know this, and
Right,
they're,
right, yeah.
I have teachers who love them, but like, they just know nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
And they might teach in my building, but they drive to the school, and then they
They
drive
can
home.
drive home, yeah.
And I need you to like,
Branch out.
also it means a lot to the kids.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
like, oh yeah, I've been to the barber shop on,
Right.
like,
so there's just it's a black screen and there's like it says connected to KW.
Just, oh,
Yeah.
That's what he's saying, that you couldn't hear them, but they can hear you on.
but I can't hear them. So Counselor Bissonette can hear me, but I can't hear him. Because my question to him would be, what do we do now? As far as a meeting goes, is this a valid meeting? And take votes? Okay.
And if there's technical difficulties, I think the rule is, to put the minutes up as soon as possible.
All right, I'm gonna see if I can call Mike Bissonette, I don't even know if I have his number. What? continue this meeting, without having it on? I don't know.
Oh, so the monitors are I was looking behind the monitor. Okay, yeah, all right, so now I see where you're talking about. Okay, so.
Okay, thank you.
This is Mike Bissonette, and you've reached my cell phone. You can either leave a voicemail, you can text me at this number, or if you want to go to email to bislaw@charter.net, you can send me an email. Hope to hear from you, and sorry I missed your call.
Oh, it's, okay, it's got a K.
The mailbox is full and cannot accept any messages.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. Hello? Who is this? Oh, okay, it didn't ring? Okay. Mike, hold on a second. Okay. We're having technical difficulties. Apparently, people can hear us, but we can't hear them. So, are we okay to continue with our meeting and take votes? Okay, he says yes.
Oh, it's up. Recognizing Councilor Gray for his question,
Okay,
and then you could not hear his question.
right. But we see you on the monitor now, so hopefully it's been straightened out. Okay?
Can we hear anybody yet, or?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Turn up the volume. Must be on your computer.
Just hung up.
Can you hear me now?
Counselor Graney, can you hear us?
Oh, I can hear them on your phone.
Look, you've got to turn up the volume.
Okay. Jeffrey, do you know how to turn the volume up on the monitor?
They're up. The monitor volumes are up.
Just wondering why it says turn up volume.
That's on the computer.
Oh, there we go, TV speaker.
Councilor Graney, can you speak?
Ask him to speak because he can't hear Jeff.
See, it's bouncing all over the place. Counselor Graney, can you hear us?
You can hear it in the hallway. It must be in their room back
Yeah.
there.
I'll try. Counselor Murphy Ramboletti, you're on mute, but can you hear us and take yourself off mute? Okay, can you?
They are speaking, you can't hear them for some reason.
Turn up volume. Turn up volume right there. Right there. Right there. Okay, turn it.
Oh, it's getting better.
Can you do it as high as you can?
Reason we can't hear.
We're gonna get it.
No, it's right up there. Coco just had it.
Zoom can hear the chamber, but the chamber can't hear Zoom.
Could you show them where you saw the?
It went away. It was just for unmuting.
Okay. Counselor Graney, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Yes. You have a question?
Mute that, it's gonna cause feedback.
Yes, hallelujah.
Go ahead.
Are you ready?
We've been ready.
and from sewer stabilization for 50,000. Why are those transfers coming from two different stabilization accounts? I wasn't even aware that they had a sewer stabilization account.
And if they do, is there any more money in that account other than the 50,000?
Okay, the mayor can answer that.
Yeah, so, hey, Counselor, so there is a sewer stabilization that was created about 2 years ago, and when free cash is certified, also what they call retained earnings from our enterprise accounts, particularly the sewer accounts, it's their version of free cash. So it got transferred over, I think it was like 99,000, almost 100,000 of retained earnings was transferred over into the sewer stabilization. And consulting with Tanya, we went with 50,000 because although it was certified at 99,000 or so, she was worried that maybe there was some receipts that were recorded in the new year that maybe should have not been recorded. So she just wanted to leave a little bit in that source enterprise in case reconciliation happens and it gets reduced for whatever reason. She doesn't think that that's the case, but just in case, she just wanted to leave a little bit in there just in case. So that's where the sewer stabilization, why it's there and how there's money in there. And then obviously you know about the capital stabilization and how the funds got in there.
Yeah, I'm well aware of the capital stabilization, but I don't know how many stabilization funds do we have? I was not aware that there was a sewer stabilization fund.
Yeah,
I didn't
that
even
was
realize that was created.
so 2 years ago. For the first time, I believe, from what I understand or hear, there was, I guess, use the term free cash because that's something people are. The sewer enterprise account had a surplus, be it will, or extra funds in it. So when the DOR certified the accounts, that's when I came to the council and asked, hey, let's create a sewer stabilization and put that funding in there for that enterprise since it belongs with that account, that enterprise account. And that's the direction we kind of ultimately went. And when free cash was once again certified not too long ago, there was an additional funding amount which the city council voted to transfer into the sewer stabilization.
So there's 40-something thousand bucks still left in that stabilization fund, or is there more than that? I
There's
mean, how much? I mean, how much is in it? And you know, I'm concerned that we're using, you know, $200,000 out of the stabilization fund, and we have a sewer stabilization fund for the sewer project, and we're not using more money out of that fund if we haven't. That's all.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So there wasn't a lot in there. If this transfer passes, that 50,000, there'd be, and I'm using round numbers, 50,000 left in that sewer stabilization sitting. There was only about 100,000 that was transferred in there. So not a lot of money.
Thank you.
Thank you. How do we get up there to Tessa? Counselor Murphy-Ramboletti, did you have something you wanted to ask?
No, I actually, when my hand was up before, it was because I realized I didn't think you could hear Counselor Graney. So that was it.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the city council that wants to ask a question or make a comment? Hearing none, I will take a motion. Okay. God. So, motion is to approve the transfer. All those, I'll have a roll call vote just to be on the safe side. Counselor Jordan?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Devine, yes. Counselor Givner?
Yes.
Counselor Ocasio?
Yes.
Okay, that passed. Thank you very much. I am going to go slightly out of order only because the mayor is here, and I want to.
You don't have to do that.
I've already looked into it, so if you don't mind, if we could take up item number 12. It's fairly simple. This was on August 6th of 2024. Ordered that there be and hereby appropriated a transfer of fiscal 2025 $5,000 as follows: from forestry tree climber to engineering professional services. I move we take it off the table for discussion.
Second.
Okay. I didn't hear from the DPW on this, but I have to assume that it's for our professional engineering person, because they usually do ask for a transfer. So it's an assumption on my part, but that's probably the reason they're asking for the transfer. Does anybody have any questions? Counselor Sullivan?
No, just a comment, and the money's there because we haven't been able to hire a tree climber.
True.
So.
True. Any other questions from anybody online or in the chambers? Okay, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the transfer?
All those in
Second.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
Counselor Jordan?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Devine, yes. Counselor Givner?
Yes.
And Counselor Ocasio?
Yes.
Okay, and then item 11 is the other one that I'll take out of order, the only other one that I'll take out of order, and that was filed on 8/6/2024, ordered that there be and hereby appropriated by transfer in fiscal 2025, $111,000 as follows: from capital stabilization, $111,000, to highway R&M streets and fixtures for $111,000. So, Counselor McGrath Smith, thank you.
Thank you. So this is, of course, this concept has come before the Finance Committee before, as we try to figure out how we're going to respond to all of the non-accepted roads in the city, which are in very poor condition. And it's a complicated and messy situation because not all non-accepted roads are the same. In fact, that's sort of part of the point, right? A lot of them they're not standard because they were not originally town roads, and are not now. So the goal for this transfer request is to be able to respond to the worst of the non-accepted roads, some of which are becoming really hard to get down, especially roads like West Cherry. But it's complicated. It's one of the pathways forward, is we could start to do this like 2-inch overlay, which is what this would do. It's a lot less expensive than taking them over as town roads and then having to then make them to code. And that would be very expensive legally, in terms of all of the issues of property taking, but also in terms of the construction work that would be necessary. So it is an alternative to doing that, or to doing what we're currently doing, which is responding with patching potholes. But we do now have some roads where it's more pothole than road. And I think there are people who feel like, well, that was their choice. They purchased that house on that private road. I understand that perspective, but also I think that it's hard to imagine 25 homeowners coming together and figuring out how to pave their own road. And we do have those situations now. And so this list includes one street in Ward 2, one in Ward 6, one in Ward 4, and the rest are in Ward 7. And this is a conversation that I've been having with a number of constituents as well as the mayor. I know it's come here before. I wanted to put it together as a discussion for a way to respond.
Okay, thank you. Mayor, do you have anything you'd like to add? And then Councilor Givner.
Yeah, no,
Sorry,
so
did I
Councilor
think on
McGrath
you?
Smith is right. I think there's, Chris Baker put this, was actively working on this and pursuing this on our behalf, identified these roads and costs, while also looking into the process for each of these roads, because every scenario is different with each of these roads. There are some that we can engage in a process which is lengthy and costly to get to a point where we can accept a road, and then others that are a little more complex to be eligible for an acceptance. But either way, we talked about this before. I remember at the last one of your finance committees, I said, hey, if I bring forward a strategy that can proactively address some of the worst roads, would there be an appetite for it? Two important points I want to bring up. One, I want to go forward. I would have not put this in front of you if I wouldn't support it. But also we have to be mindful on potential Pandora's box that can happen. And then also number two, I thought about what we should do. So assuming you guys support, we go forward. a lot of folks have bought homes on that roads not knowing. It's hard for me to tell 20 homes on a road to come up with X amount of money and tell them, figure it out, you're on your own. So what if we fixed it, do an agreement on behalf of them in the city, and maybe even help them form some sort of an association so they can plan ahead, assuming their road in particular is not or will never become an eligible public road on our Chapter 90 list. Just some ideas so that we can protect the city, but also trying to be mindful on the need and trying to kind of figure out how we can proceed forward so that it doesn't get into a situation where the road completely comes apart and then it becomes non-passable and no one's fixing the road. So, yeah, any questions?
Okay, and then Counselor Givner.
I just want to add one fact. So in the list that Chris Baker, our former city engineer, put together, there are 87 non-accepted roads, just to give you a sense of the scope of what we're talking
Did you
about.
say 87?
87. And that's not just, sorry. So there are 87 non-accepted roads on that list from Chris Baker, our former city engineer. And so this is the first set of those roads. And these are the worst of them, but you would expect that over time, if we're setting a precedent by taking on these ones, you can't then not take on the others. So that is sort of the Pandora's box the mayor's referring to. And it is a big thing that we would be agreeing to do this for our constituents. So I think that we need to openly debate it in council really thoughtfully and with intention, because this is something that we would be taking on moving forward for all non-accepted roads once we set the precedent.
Okay, Mayor before, and then,
sorry.
did you have something else?
Well, to add to the Pandora's box too, like some of these roads have one house on them or two houses on them. And what makes it a driveway versus a road? Not to mention alleyways. Alleyways are public right-of-ways that are not publicly accepted roads. And so, how do you differentiate that? So it's, I think it's warranted to have some sort of policy as we navigate this particular issue. But obviously, again, I hear it all the time, right? These homeowners pay a lot of money in taxes and expect their roads to be maintained, and they don't know the difference between, publicly accepted road and a non-publicly accepted road, and also it's complex. People don't understand the magnitude of time and resources it takes to get a road to be publicly accepted. So it's not anything that can happen overnight. But we're bringing this in front of you because we're the city's overseers, and I figure, hey, if we can find some consensus somewhere, maybe we can get some sort of traction to be sure that it's not a problem that's going unaddressed.
Okay, Counselor Givner, Counselor Jordan, Counselor Sullivan. So Counselor Givner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm definitely one of the people who would say if you bought a house on a road that's not a city road, then that's, you do need to form some kind of community committee to figure out how to pave it. I understand that people are probably upset, or maybe they didn't realize they bought the house on that road. I mean, I think it's a hard lesson learned. I mean, you buy a house, you buy its problems. I think any homeowner knows that because we deal with them a lot. And I'm not saying that I don't think they deserve, paved roads, but considering all the things our city needs, in other parts of the city where these are public streets and, not private roads, I think that we really have to focus our resources in other areas. However, I do feel like instead of starting by making promises to the people on all these streets, maybe starting with the idea of helping them form a committee. I mean, there's a committee in the city for every single thing we do, whether it's a parking study, there's a bike ped committee. I mean, there's homeowners associations in a lot of places. Maybe that's what these, groups need, is like a homeowners association. I think it's a great idea to break down the costs, the things that could go wrong, because it's important for those homeowners to know the Pandora's box. Like, if we start digging up the roads for them and we find problems, now we have to deal with them. Whereas if they're digging up their roads and contracting out to have the roads repaved, they're owning that problem. So I don't know what the best solution is. I know obviously everybody just wants what they want, and, they pay their taxes, so they expect, a service. But at the same time, if you buy a house on a private road, it is your responsibility to deal with that road. So I feel for them, but I also feel like there's a lot of places in the city where money needs to be spent. And I don't feel like it's a priority when there's other areas of the city that need attention desperately too. So that's just how I feel about it.
Counselor Jordan.
Okay. One, I've been generally aware of this as a big issue for quite some time, and it's never been really tackled. I guess actually, before I make a couple more comments, could you list the names of the streets that are going to be taken care of on this
There
batch?
should be a,
Oh, it's in the
Yeah,
thing? Oh, okay.
I don't have that with me, but.
It's
Okay.
Alto Street, Cedar Hill Road, Curran Lane, Dingle Road, Old Bassett Road, Oscar Street,
Yeah, I know, but.
Owens Place,
Oh.
and West Cherry Street.
Okay.
And the total is $111,000 to keep the existing pavement width and to do a 2-inch overlay.
Okay.
And the chart also shows how much it would cost if we claimed that road as ours and then did a reconstruction to code. And that is a $1,084,900.
So just so I'm clear, under this, we're not taking these on as public roads, right? It's status, but we're just going to do a resurfacing.
Right.
Okay. I think that's a good approach, number one, on the premise of a number of points. One is, it's so pervasive through the city that we have this number of streets that when these folks are buying, I don't think there's any realtor, anybody, anywhere, there's no marking. I think if we're going to really kind of hold people to the quote unquote, you're on a private way, then we should put up a sign on that street that says, you're a private way, okay? Because how on earth would you ever know? There's nothing in your deed that says you're on a private way. No lawyer would know on the closing of the home that's being disclosed to the person buying it that it's a private way. It's pretty much, that's like a city thing. It's not like held out to the public when you buy a house that your home is on a private way. So from just basic, you're right, due diligence, how would you even know? You wouldn't, unless you went and called up Chris Baker and said, give me the list of all the private ways, and like what regular citizen, even non-regular citizen, I don't think is a lawyer even called for that, to do that in the city. So now you get into the whole fairness thing, and we're treating these people like they're anybody else, right? They don't get, oh, well, because you're on a private way, you get 33% off on your property taxes, because if something goes down on your street, you got to pay for that yourself, right? Like they got to pay the same bill as everybody else because they're expecting the same service, the street plowing, the trash pickup. If a pipe bursts or whatever, you would not in really any other way. So bottom line is, it's a real problem. You're trying to find a middle ground to solve it, which is, in one respect, I'd like to have it accepted, because the one perk for us if you do that is it increases our calculation for Chapter 90 money. So there is a perk to accepting these on. I'm assuming you've done
To
the
some
math.
degree. It'll definitely increase it, but we don't collect enough
To
as
offset,
it is
maybe?
to keep up with proper maintenance of roads. So
Right. So you're doing this balancing where it's like, okay, if you paid full freight, it would be 1.8 versus 100,000. So you're saving 1.7 there versus the offset, which would be if we accepted it, you'd get this extra Chapter 90 money. So in that regard, you do the math. Maybe this is the happy medium. And quite frankly, I think what you're doing is consistent with what has been done, which is that effectively we do enough to, it's like the trash and the snow plowing and whatnot, we resurface every 15, 20 years these streets, and we move on, and it seems to work for everybody, and they're happy, and it saves us some money, and it makes them happy, and it shows good citizenship. So I like your approach. I think you're trying to strike a balance. I'm assuming you identified these based on these were the worst ones in terms of shape and condition compared. I know Alto, I drive by Alto every day, and I know it's in rough shape. It's pretty rocky up there. And, there's just a few homes on the street, but it's a connector street between Belvedere and Brookline. And a lot of people drive on that street, it's not a very long street. It's only probably from here, maybe to the mayor's office long. But on the other hand, there's a few homes, and a lot of people do use it, cutting over from Francis Avenue and otherwise. So, long story short, I support what you're doing here. You're chipping away at it. I think we should, look at this and say, what's the rate these like we do all the other streets, give them a rating, and then get them on a cycle so that maybe over a 10-year or 12-year or whatever period, we hit all of these and we move forward. And so it's a manageable bill.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Counselor Jordan, I'm sorry, you are Counselor Jordan.
I am.
Counselor Sullivan and then Counselor Givner.
Yeah, thank you. The problem I've got with it is I really think what we have to do is just really focus in on making some of these streets, going through the process of accepting them. It's not just the Chapter 90 formulation, but by having them as accepted streets, now they can be eligible for spending other grant monies that can become available and other sources of funding that they're not eligible for now because they're not an accepted street. All right? Putting down a 2-inch overlay is a complete waste of money. All right? I respect what the engineer came up with, but you put down a 2-inch overlay, especially when you're talking about some place like West Cherry Street, right? That's already in the condition it's in. You go through 1 or 2 frost thaw, freeze thaw cycles, right? And drive a couple of snow plows over it, and you can kiss all that work goodbye. It's gone. It's off to the side and in the gutter. I agree. And as far as moving the process forward of accepting some of these, maybe we got to prioritize. If we got one street with 20 houses on it, let's put that right at the top of the list and get moving on it. But the 100,000, as far as I'm concerned, is you might as well just throw it away because it's going to be good for a year or two, and you're back in the same boat with nothing solved. So,
Counselor Givner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I wanted to just confirm that they get city services on these streets. So they get plowed, they get trash collection.
They do, because we want to, so services have to get there. So you want to make sure that ambulance, police, any emergency, trash needs to be picked up. So for that reason, we'll patch the potholes so that services can get to the residents.
Gotcha. And then to follow up on Counselor Sullivan's comment, I like the idea of prioritizing higher populated streets to do something to take them over or whatever we're calling it. But I also think like a cut-through street that is used by the public should kind of by default be taken over by the city. I mean, I also feel that way about alleyways, but that's a whole nother discussion. But I mean, if it's a cut-through and it's it's attaching to streets that everyone uses, I think that should definitely have a priority, whether there's one house on it or 50. I think it should be the same priority. And then things like if it's West Cherry is awful, but it ends. It's, nobody's cutting through there to go to the mall or wherever, you can't cut through. You have to stop at the end. So I wonder, out of these, and I don't know them all that well, but how many of them are actual streets that could easily be taken over by the city because they're attached to other city streets anyway and used as a cut through. And then I also have to share my concern that if you're spending this money and it's only going to last for 2 years, what's the point? It sounds like we need a more permanent plan And I think it has to start with the residents in on those streets having their own committee, just like the rest of the city does for everything and has volunteers. I mean, they essentially should want to volunteer to fix their own environment. I can't tell people what they have to do, but a way for them to get things done would really be to get together and work together and figure this out. We have the resources as a city to help people understand exactly how much it could cost. And if they're willing to pay those prices, you know, that'd be awesome. But if not, maybe there is a way to work towards the city taking over some of these more populated streets to make them safer with with more permanent solutions. Because, I mean, throwing money away is not something we really want to do either.
Mayor?
Yeah, and to your point about assessing each of the roads, I think so West Cherry is the most populated, probably, and the longest lengthened road. That, to Councilor Sullivan's point, doing a 2-inch overlay might not be as effective. So that road in particular, if we did reclaim full reconstruction, it'll be $531,200. And other smaller roads might not need an FDR, but can get away with a 2-inch overlay, like Oscar Street, 219 feet, or Owens Place, 175 feet. That might not be. West Cherry's, you know, it's kind of going up in the hill and it's twining around. You probably have some streams underneath them. I could see how that might be better if we did the FDR versus other smaller ones that might just be fine with a 2-inch overlay. But I'm not an expert. I certainly would need to have somebody to do that kind of assessment if, you know, we were to proceed forward.
Councilor McGrath-Smith?
I just wanted to name that. Also, if we take, we take a road on as our own, it's not just the cost of the construction; it's the cost of the legal process to actually go through that. And I think it will put a lot of stress on constituents and on homeowners, because you're going to have some people on your road that want to, some people that don't. That one holdout, okay, does everyone pave the road and that one person gets a pass, or no one ever gets a paved road ever again? I mean, you look at the things that happened down in Ward 1 with the row houses, and they struggle because there's always that one house that's in probate, right? Someone's just died, and it's 2 years to go through the courts to figure out who owns it. In the meantime, nothing can happen because you need everyone to agree for anything to be done. So it's actually really tricky to set up a situation that it would work for a street. I don't know. I just think it's not as easy.
Yeah, it's complicated.
As trying to set it up, and to take a city street, then it has to be the 24 feet width.
Right.
There are roads that can't happen because there are houses there. It was not built for that width of a road. So, and again, every situation is different. And I love the idea of maybe there's a way of, I don't know if it's finding money in order to hire a consultant to do a plan for which roads in the city should be taken over, and here's how much it would cost to do it. Here are the roads that should not be taken over for here are these reasons, right? Or is it a committee? I think it'd be really, there's so much technical expertise to this process. I don't think you could do it with just the public. I think you would need to have a technical expert to do this work. And either that means we're finding grant funding to do it, and that could take time or may not even be possible. In the meantime, we do have roads that are hitting the point where they're near to not passable anymore. And I know we've been patching potholes for a long time on some of these roads, and it's rough trying to get down them. So I do think that maybe there's a short-term solution, that we have to handle the worst of them at this point while we figure out what is our longer-term plan. I love the idea of there somehow being an association and people paying into it, but there are legal fees associated with that. You'd have to get everyone on the road to agree to it to make it happen. It's easier at the outset if it's a condo. Hard if it's, well, this is the way it's always been, and that neighbor doesn't want to do it.
Yeah. Councilor Givner?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks for that, Councilor McGrath-Smith. So this is sounding more and more like the cheapest solution. Like every 2 years, you go in and you put a little. I mean,
Maybe not. I mean,
like how do you, but this is just the first one. So then you get back to the mayor's point that, you know, now as all these other streets start to have issues of the 87 that may come up, we will suddenly be just resurfacing them all the time. So I don't know. And also, you mentioned that there should be a lengthy discussion about this in council. I would recommend that there's maybe this is tabled for a lengthier discussion in finance where we really try to make sure to invite the full council and let them know that we're really trying to figure this out, because, or in another committee, because I also can't imagine discussing this in the full city council, because it's, I mean, there's going to be a lot of feelings about this.
Counselor Sullivan.
Madam
and then
Chair.
Counselor- 1 second. Counselor Sullivan, Jordan, and then Graney.
So
Counselor Vacan, you had your hand up. So I'll
Yes.
go Counselor Sullivan, Jordan, Vacan, and Graney. Go ahead, Counselor.
I would just make the observation, as Councilor McGath said, this could take quite a bit of outside technical consultant right now as it stands. It just drives home to me the point that we wouldn't need any of that if we had went out a city engineer. This would all be taken care of.
Yep.
We wouldn't be sitting here having these lengthy discussions.
Yeah. Counselor Jordan.
Yep. Is there a city engineer to be hired? But if there is to hire someone, let's do it.
Not at $16 an hour.
Yeah.
Right.
So couple of points. This is not a novel problem. This is something, these streets are all paved, many of them. That didn't fall out of the sky. People sitting in your chair, and our chairs, gave money to have those streets paved. So here we are, we're doing it again. And that's what we need to do. Why? Because it's the right thing to do, right? These are people who are paying taxes, and they deserve, because they pay a lot of taxes, like Cedar Hill Road is a very nice road, and there's a number of homes on that street, and I'm sure those people pay a hell of a lot more collectively than $14,700 in taxes. So, you know, they deserve to have their street paved, just like they deserve to have their trash picked up and police cars and all the other wonderful things that citizens get, right? So, you know, Curran Lane has a few homes on it. You know, Jim Curran put in that street. So there's no question Jim knows, who's now died and gone to heaven, that, you know, that's a private way. He personally put in that street. Obviously, it's named for him. But, you know, some of these other ones, you know, this looks just like any other street, and the city has always paved them. Whether it's a good pave, a so-so pave, you know, or whatever, I think we just need to have a commitment to do these. But I like the idea of a bigger conversation about a policy relative to how do we maybe not have these private. I agree with the point that Councilor McGrath was making about it would be very tricky to have a street with 10, 20 neighbors on it all getting together to say, let's all chip into the hat and pave the street, because this one could be owned by a trust. This one, the person could be dead and it's waiting for sale to Lord knows when. These three, I mean, there's just, you start getting into all, this is why people have government, right? We all pay property taxes into the pot, and they hire people like us to make solutions. And that's what we're doing here. We're making a solution just like the past. So, this is not easy, but your approach, I think, is a good approach. And I think it's, of all the options, we should continue to study it, but you're making the best of a challenging situation. That's why all your predecessors did the same thing you're doing, until there is an easier solution, which we should study, develop a policy. If you got so many houses, you're a priority. If you're a cut-through street, you're a priority. If you have so much traffic trips, you're a priority. You know, we can make all those, but it's something long-term for us, we should, because we have so many. It's not like it's 4 streets. It's almost 100. So, okay, thank you.
Counselor Bacon?
Thank you. So I just have a couple of comments and a question. I've been listening to all the various comments, and I'm a little concerned about the Pandora's box because without having some definition to what we're doing, I do think it will create assumptions on people's part. So I find myself thinking about West Cherry and the comments that Councilor Sullivan made that a 2-inch topping on a road that is in such terrible shape won't really do anything to improve it. And that brought me to this question. It seems like if a road could not ever be accepted because it could never, as an example, be made wide enough to meet the rules, then we have as a city a different kind of obligation because the street does exist and we've been maintaining it. So in a situation like that, I agree with it. In another situation, and I don't know anything about any of these streets specifically, if the street could be accepted, if it could be made wide enough, but the people, as an example, would have to agree, say, to give up some land to be able to achieve the width. If the city's going to keep maintaining it, patching it, or doing whatever we're thinking of doing, then I think in those examples, we need to have an expectation that the homeowners would be willing to do whatever had to happen for the city to then be able to get it accepted so that we could take advantage of grant monies and the Chapter 90 monies. But having said all that, I do acknowledge that that would be potentially complicated and take a long time. But given what I've heard about the condition of West Cherry, it seems like everybody down there would have to agree that that road needs a lot more than a 2-inch surface to go on top of it. And I don't know all the people on that street, but I know there's a general consensus that some major work needs to be done down there. So those are just a few of my thoughts, but I think we'd be better served to try to put at least a broad policy together before we started spending money without any definition at all. Thanks.
Counselor Graney?
Yeah, probably, just one comment. In order to hire a consultant to look at something like this is probably going to cost $100,000 too. So you're talking about an extra $100,000 spent just on the planning process. So, I mean, whatever the situation is, I don't know how to address it. Lengthy discussion needs to be taking place in a subcommittee or something to be done. But the people do deserve to have certainly the other services that the other residents of Hoyoke do. But once again, these consultants don't come cheap either. Thank you.
Okay, just a quick question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this? Or do we go back to going step by step and accepting streets?
10 being most important. 10.
10, okay. All right. Any other questions or any comments? Councilor Jordan?
I'm ready to make a motion, Madam
Okay.
Chair. I'm going to make a motion to be approved.
Any second? No seconds? Okay, so make a motion to table it?
I'd make a motion to table.
Second?
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, so we'll table that till we have the next finance meeting.
Can I ask a question?
Counselor, yeah,
So I'd love to know the purpose of tabling it and what information do you need in order to be able to have a different conversation next time?
I was ready to pass it, so I can't answer that, but the other people, if you want to answer that, Counselor Sullivan?
There's not much they can give me for more information. $100,000 to put a Band-Aid on this problem. I'd be in favor if something was in front of us to spend $5 million or spend this $100,000 to get people to help find the grants and get the process going for accepting these streets, getting them eligible for Chapter 90 funding and other things that are available. If that kind of money was being spent, yes, But just to spend $100,000 to watch it disappear over the next 2 winters, no.
I don't want to put anybody on the spot. Anybody else want to comment on your vote to table?
I can.
Okay.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I guess I don't feel like this is the solution. And if it is, it's a short-term solution. So I would want to know, what's next. Are there roads that we want to prioritize first? Because it doesn't seem like all of these are a high priority. I mean, they might be, but some are worse than others, you said, even though these are the list of the worst. But I'd be interested in like more of a game plan. Like, I think we need to come up with how we deal with this in the future, because every 2 years resurfacing is not going to work forever. Eventually the road's going to have to be repaved.
I know Councilor Sullivan said every 2 years, but that might be so, that might not be so. Because these roads were paved, who knows, and it hasn't been touched for over a
Longer than
decade.
2 years, let's assure.
and they're still being driven on. So and I'm not discrediting Councilor Sullivan. He's a lot smarter than I am with construction stuff, but certainly don't think that, the 2-inch overlay that's on High Street, they had said it was going to last 2 years. I think, we're going into year 3, and it's still in pretty great condition. So I wouldn't take that to,
Okay.
to heart, but, to your point though, yes, we want a long-term solution. We want a stronger fix, more bang for our buck to help the folks out. I get it.
And my other,
Wait, one at a time,
Get on the
please.
list,
Counselor Givner, Counselor Sullivan, Counselor Jordan.
thank you. I'm interested in this, in the taxpayer, portion. If we're looking at this as a fairness and we want to see like who's paying more taxes, I mean, the roads that should have priority, and if we're thinking that way, which I don't think we should, but of public streets where there's higher amounts of taxes paid on the street, obviously longer streets are going to have more properties and they're going to have a higher priority. So if we're looking at the whole city, there's so much work that needs to be done. So I have a hard time supporting this anyway, but I understand that there's a need for paved roads. I mean, the only one of these streets I've been down is West Cherry, and I have a Jeep, so I don't really care. But I'm sure not everybody is driving that. So I don't know. I would be interested in like more information about a long-term plan. I think I could support this if I knew that there was an action plan afterwards, but to just say yes to this and just wait for the Pandora's box to open with all the other streets that could get added to this, I just don't feel that comfortable.
I'm just wondering if I might, and Jeffrey, you're going to have to come in on this. If I don't have anything for August 20th, which is a week from tomorrow, would the mayor and everybody else that we need information from, would they be available to have a finance meeting with only this on the agenda? I can't hear you.
They haven't said anything.
I know. Is that something that we can do? Next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow? Yes, Mayor? Jeff, did you hear us?
I did. It is open. I was just waiting
Okay.
to hear if anybody would
You
be
can?
open to it.
I'm available, and I wonder.
Okay, so how about we table it until Tuesday, August 20th, and that will be the only item on the agenda, and we can have as many people in here that you feel we need, whether it's the temporary engineer, whatever. How does that sound for everybody? Does that sound okay? Counselor Jordan?
Sounds good, but if we're really going to have discussions about big policies and all this, I'd like an invitation at some point sent to the 80 people that live on these 87 streets by the city and invite them in and hear what they think. Because I get it, we're a representative democracy here, but I'd also like them to kind of weigh in on, hey, the plan B is that you all do this yourself and pass the hat and form like your own condo association for the street. What do you think about that? You know, everybody on X street, because that's like one of the plan B alternatives is like either the city's going to do this or we're not going to do it, or I guess the plan 1A sounds like, well, don't do what they're proposing here, do something more. I don't know, is there a 4-inch street versus a 2-inch street? I mean, I don't know, are you cutting a corner here? I don't know. I'd have to get a structural engineer in
Well,
here to talk about that, but I guess my point is, right now on West Cherry Street, there's a 0-inch overlay. Okay. As a matter of fact, we're into the subterranean. We're in the negatives at this point on West Cherry. So people that live in the negative would love to be at +2. And what I'm suggesting is, at least if we could get the road flat and put 2 inches, and if that lasts however long it lasts, that's a lot better, because 40 grand to me is cheaper than every time Kevin and the gang calls the DPW, and I'm sure Councilor McGrath, as the Ward 7 councilor, has called. And I know Todd McGee, I was in his ear, and he was the Ward 7 person before Councilor McGrath. We would be calling hey, can you send the troops out and re-rake West Cherry Street? Like, what does that cost? And what does it cost to put the stone in and patch up the holes? And you get to a point where it's like, okay, well, we're spending 10 or 20 grand every, 2 months, 3 months to have it regraded. At least if you had this and it was, you got 3 years out of it, or I don't know, maybe there'll be an expert that comes in and says, it all washes away to 0. Probably not gonna happen. But my point is, 40 grand for a 3,000 foot road is, to me, not exorbitant.
If I might, Counselor,
Sure.
sorry to interrupt you. All we're dealing with right now is we've tabled item 11, and that's all we're talking about, is the transfer of the money.
Agreed.
And that's what I want on the 20th, because we definitely had a lot of questions. So that's really all I want on the 20th. Later on, after those questions got answered, maybe someone can file an order, and we can do that.
To our leaders, though, Councilor Devine, what I'm suggesting is, it's great to have another meeting, and we'll probably have to have more meetings down the road, but what I'm suggesting is, we need to give them some guidance here as to what to even bring on the 20th. And what I'm saying is, okay, if not 2-inch in this plan, what's Plan B, what's Plan C, so that they're bringing us the right information, so we...
Counselor Sullivan?
Yeah,
You want to-
I can help a little bit more detail on it. So a good example was what the mayor made, High Street. It got a 2-inch overlay. Before they put down a 2-inch overlay, the entire street was abraded and the old asphalt ground up and removed. All right, which in itself was probably $500,000 by itself just to prepare that section of road to take the 2-inch overlay. You take a 3,000 foot road, right, and try and put a 2-inch overlay on it. It's not the 40 feet or the 50 feet. It's that whole 3,000 feet, right, that needs to be treated before you put down that 2-inch overlay. And that's, no, not, what we're talking about for West Cherry Street is in the millions of dollars for a project. And that's what needs to be addressed, is how we're gonna go about that process and get those funds. And there's no two ways about it. We gotta make it an accepted way. And Councilor Givner's point, I hope the neighbors are ready to go along with that part of it, you know?
I do think the West Cherry Street's gonna be,
It's gonna
that's
be,
the one where Councilor Bacon was talking about, the length, it might not be,
The
it might
width.
be difficult to.
the width,
And-
they're, yes. And these are the things they should come and be ready to discuss. And on the part of the city, what other possibility, yeah, that's the law. There's ways, we whether it's a home rule petition, whatever else we have to do with the state to get an exception to that rule, or is it impossible? But these are the answers we need coming into this. I'll say again, I'm all in favor of doing something with West Cherry Street. I'm not in favor of spending $100,000 on something that needs millions. And as we've heard here tonight, and to have it repeat itself, 40,000, 40,000, 40,000, every few months or 20 months or every year. I mean, from what I'm hearing, if we had done it right in the first place, it wouldn't be an issue here right now.
Right now,
We've
this-
spent that money anyways.
Right now, this order's tabled.
Yeah.
I was just suggesting the 20th, but we don't have to have it on the 20th, but it's tabled.
We need
So,
to
So is that enough time to, do you think it needs to be?
again, I don't have to have it on the 20th. That's just a free day.
Yeah, you might have to,
The next one would be the 18th of September, because you have other items going on. So it's up to the committee and, of course, the mayor and whoever else would be. And this is just for the transfer.
How about if you, Madam Chair, coordinate with the mayor's office and DPW when they're ready?
Okay.
If they're ready on the 20th, call it. If they're not ready, then we don't do it. How's that?
Okay.
That makes sense?
All right.
Okay.
Mayor, I'll do that with you, and, okay, so this has been tabled, and I can't remember, do we take a vote?
Nope.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Counselor Jordan?
No.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Devine, yes.
Yes.
Counselor Givner, yes. Counselor Ocasio?
Yes.
Is that a yes? Yeah, okay. So we will table that, and I will take up Counselor Jordan's suggestion to get in touch with the mayor and figure out the best time to have our next meeting. So I appreciate you being here, Mayor, and we'll continue on. Okay.
Thank you.
I don't, Jeffrey, I don't see Maria from the library here. Was she contacted?
She sent a reply back saying that she was out of town this week.
Oh, I didn't get that. Okay. So I'll make a motion that we table this until the next time we need to meet.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next item is item 4, and it was filed 8/6/24 from Counselor Murphy Ramboletti for Kelly Curran, the personnel, head administrative clerk, to personnel temporary seasonal help, $40,800. Kelly, you're there. I think you explained this the other night, but it still went to committee. So if you want to go ahead,
Can you hear me?
it could be a little better.
Let me try to make it louder.
Yeah, that's
Is
better.
Okay, great. So yeah, it is from my vacant head clerk position to move into the temporary seasonal line. I currently have an intern who is from Mass Hire, and she's doing a great job. She's graduating this year, and she's able to work part-time hours throughout the fall semester. So I'd like to have her on throughout the fall and into the winter. And she hopefully will join us full-time.
Okay. Any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead, Counselor Jordan.
So how come we need to move $40,800 for a temporary position for a few months to put some money in there for additional temporary seasonal help to pay her?
So I'm not sure what her schedule will be in the spring.
Okay,
So depending on what that is.
Thank you.
I didn't want to request 20,000 and then have to come back again to request 10 more. So I figured just request the full amount until I know
Thank
how
you,
much.
Counselor McGrath Smith. Thank you.
Did you have a question?
No, Counselor
sorry.
Jordan, you're still.
Yes. Yeah, I really only like to appropriate the actual amount money that you need. So if she's only part-time, that would be at max 20,000 if it's a full year, right? She's not going to make 40 grand part-time.
She's not going to make 40 grand part-time, but she may be able to work additional hours in the spring. So I didn't want to have to come back to request money again for it to go back to the full council, to go to full council, to committee, back to full council. So that's why I requested 40,000, so I wouldn't be going back and forth.
All right. When's your head administrative clerk coming back?
She's not, she moved to a different department.
Okay, so this is a position that's permanently gone?
It's not permanently gone, no. It's vacant, and the intern is doing a great job, and she's studying human resources, and she's interested in working for us when she finishes school. So I had to move it to the temp seasonal because she's not gonna be a full-time head clerk.
Is the position gonna be competitively posted, or you're just
It was
gonna give her the job?
No, it was already posted. We didn't have any candidates that had experience or that stayed at jobs long. A lot of people bounced around, and we wanted stability, and she's interested in possibly coming on board when she graduates. But
When
in the
does she-
meantime,
when does she
she's supporting the
graduate?
office. In spring 2025.
Okay. Well, but what's your intention? You're just gonna give her the job if she wants it?
So we posted it and we've interviewed people. We did not find suitable candidates. So that's when I asked her if she would possibly be interested. She said yes, but she cannot work full-time right now because she's in school. But I already posted it, I already interviewed people. We were still gathering resumes. There's just, the quality candidates are not out there, at least for that position and that pay.
Well, that was the time that you posted it, but why not post it again if the position's gonna be filled in the spring?
I can post it in the spring. I don't have a problem with that, but.
Yeah,
it's-
we gotta be really careful that all positions are open to everyone. That's a very important principle in the government, that, you know, we don't line people up for jobs. Okay, these
So,
are
but,
public,
yeah, I
these are
wasn't
public
lining her-
positions.
Yeah, I wasn't lining her up for a job. I posted it. It's been posted for months, for several months, and we've been doing interviews. I will post it again in the spring, but for now, she's supporting us while she's at school.
Okay, so then how much money do you need to fund it? If she's only part-time, then we should put the part-time dollars you need, and then the rest of it would go back into the general fund. Otherwise, you're leaving the whole 40,000 there for her to spend when it's not there needed for salary.
So currently, she can work about 21 to 25 hours a week with her school schedule. So
Okay.
for the fall, I know that for sure. For the spring, she does not have her schedule yet, so I don't know how many hours she can work. So I
Okay.
didn't want to have to go back and wait a month and a half to get more money approved. So that's why I said the initial 40,000. I'm happy with reducing it, but I can't give you an exact amount for the fall I can, but for the spring, I do not know.
Okay, sounds like you need about, she's gonna make the same amount as the full-time employee was there as a?
No, she's not, no.
Okay. How much does she make versus the budgeted hourly of 40,800? Is it 75%? Is it 50%? How?
I don't know the percentage, but I was going to offer 21.
Okay. 21. Well, the other position, the person that was in there was getting how much per hour that the 40,800 was based on? That
I
sounds like
believe-
about 21, right?
I think it was 22.
22.
and
All right, so that's pretty close. All right. Okay, so that's probably about the same, but it's just about half as many hours as full-time.
Correct.
Okay. So it sounds to me like you need to transfer 10,000 and then some point between now and December, come back for another 10 if that's still the plan. But
Sure.
you'll know by November 1st, you know.
What her schedule is? Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Right now, what's before us is that the $40,800. So does anybody want to make a motion to pass that tonight?
Okay.
Well, Counselor Givner?
If there's no amendment, I'm fine with it. I would second it.
Well, I don't think you can amend it.
Yeah. I would,
without having a new order.
yeah, I would recommend that they come back with a request for 10,000 to give them what they need, not 40,000. So I would, since we can't amend it, I would recommend this be denied, and then they come back for 10,000.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second.
I have a question.
Go ahead,
So,
Counselor
Could-
Sullivan.
yeah, just to expedite this a little, could we not deny it, but move it to the council for the next meeting with the request that it come in with an amended dollar amount?
They should file, yeah, if they want to file a different one for September 4th, sure, they could do that.
So it doesn't have to come back to committee?
Correct, because we already are aware of it. That would speed it up. Kelly, if you could come in with the 10,000 request for September 4th, we could pass it that night, so you're still okay.
Yeah, I'm on vacation that week
Yeah.
and I won't be
Well,
available.
But we already have the
Wait.
info. She wouldn't have to come.
Other counselors may want her to be here. So right now, what is our vote on item 4, to transfer that money? Counselor Jordan made a motion to deny it. There was a second. So all those in favor of denying it? Counselor Jordan?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
No.
Counselor Devine? No. Counselor Givner?
No.
Yes. And Counselor Ocasio?
Yes.
Okay, so 3-2, it was denied. So Kelly, why don't you let us know?
No, my motion failed.
Yeah.
3-2. I made a motion to deny it. It
Right,
lost,
and
3-2.
it was a
So
yes,
now
I was a yes, or you were a
I
no,
voted
no.
yes, 3 no's and 2 yeses, so it lost. So now it's up, now you have to
I'm
come to
really
another
confused.
Motion that we
Pass the transfer.
the transfer.
Second, okay. Counselor Jordan,
No.
Counselor Sullivan.
Wait a minute, the question is.
I know, that's what I'm saying, it's going back and forth. This is a motion to pass the transfer of $40,800.
No.
So Counselor Jordan was a no, Counselor Sullivan's a no, Counselor Devine's a yes, Counselor Givner?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Ocasio?
No.
Okay, so,
Motion to return it to the auditor with a request to have a new transfer request brought in on September 4th.
Second.
That's my motion.
Second.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Counselor Jordan?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Devine, yes. Counselor Givner?
Yes.
Counselor Ocasio?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Kelly, for your time, and have a good vacation.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
So we'll go on to item number 5, and this was ordered by myself on 8/6/24, that we transfer $30,000 from the mayor CAFO position to election of officers, $30,000. The city clerk has asked that we table this to a future date, so I'd like that
Motion to
motion.
table.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. Yes?
I was gonna make a motion to take up the next item, but I
Okay.
wasn't sure what you want.
Yeah. Item number 6.
Motion to take up item 6.
Okay, and that's ordered that in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53A, City Council hereby accepts the provisions of FY 2024 Student and Senior Safe Programs, $9,798.98, no match. And we have the chief of the fire department here. He was there.
How you guys doing this
There
evening?
you are. Hi.
Are you guys able to hear me?
We can hear you, yes,
Yeah.
Chief.
Okay. Yeah, this is the grant that we use for all of our fire education for both the schools and for the senior. This is what they fund, like the senior program where we go out and we install smoke detectors for them and provide fire safety education. There's a lot of programs that we fund with this. It did get cut a little this year. We normally get a little over 11,000. This year is down to 9. It was a little late on getting signed through DFS, so we actually didn't get the signed contract until July, a little later than normal.
Okay, and you said you install smoke detectors for the seniors. How do you come about which seniors apply?
They reach out, so
Okay.
Lieutenant Pelchar advertises, and it's all over on Facebook and everything, and through other things, other media sources, and she goes to the senior center and she lets them know about it there, and then they reach out and we go and we do an assessment of their home, and if they're in need of smoke detectors, we replace them.
Great, Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Motion to approve?
All those in favor? Okay, Counselor Jordan?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Devine, yes. Counselor Givner, yes. Sorry. Counselor Ocasio, yes. Okay, thank you, Chief.
Motion to take up
Thank
item
you, I
7.
appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you, too. Okay, item number 7 is motion for, God, ordered that they're hereby and appropriate by transfer fiscal 2025, 58,500 Planner 2 to 58,000 Planner 1. And we have Aaron Vega here from OPED. If you could either come in or there by the mic and let us know what's going on.
Good evening, councilors. Thank you for taking this up so quickly. Good to see you. And again, thanks for the support in the budget currently that we're in fiscal year 25. So after evaluating and given where we are, we'd like to look at this Planner 2 line and transfer it back to Planner 1. And here's why. A discussion with the planning team, as you see, 58,000 is at the low end of the Planner 2 range. And the job description, the qualifications, is probably going to put us into a situation where we're not going to be able to fund and fill that position. And really what we'd like to do is really train our people and get them ready to be a Planner 2. So currently we have one Planner 1. We can call him Planner 1A if you want. It's Alex Weiss. His main purview is our mapping system, our GIS mapping system. He also does the preliminary research for the planning board as well as for the city council when we talk about new things like tiny home ordinances, best ordinances, all that kind of new stuff that comes up. And he lends a lot of support for the grant writing that we do. He's doing a number of maps for different departments, police department, mass and motion, and other departments that need mapping tools. So that's our Planner 1A, if you will, that's currently in the position. We'd like to bring a Planner 2 that's more focused on the zoning and site plan reviews, which is under, more under the Planner 2 position. But again, most people do not have general knowledge of Mass General Law about zoning, never mind Holyoke City ordinances. And so really having that training ground that we could bring in somebody at the Planner 1 level, train them, see if they're the right fit to move up to a Planner 2 position that does obviously have more responsibility and going forward to be able to look at those site plan reviews, those special permit reviews, etc. The idea would be to transfer the full 58. I'm in desperate need of supporting my Planner 1A currently. He's been here for over a year, almost a year and a half, is still at $50,000, has not seen a dime of an increase or a cost of living adjustment or anything. And so he came in at a lower salary because we told him after 6 months we'd review. And as I mentioned before, I sort of dropped the ball on the supplemental budget that the mayor did last year. And so wasn't able to fulfill a small raise for him. So my hope is that the full 58 gets transferred to Planner 1. I would use $4,000 to put towards the Planner A, who's currently in the position, and then hire the new person at 52. I think this also creates a little bit of equity in the office because one of the issues is that we were looking at possibly bringing a person at 58,000 with no experience or no seniority in the office, making more than the current Planner 1 by $8,000, making more than my senior project manager by $3,000 who's been here for over 2.5 years. So the equity in my office is also something that we've been trying to fix. I know the city council previous to me in working with the previous administration equaled out Jeff and John, the assistant planner, assistant director of planning, assistant director of economic development, kind of brought parity between those positions. So we're trying to get parity between the two sides of the office. So that's the general plan. We think we'll have a much better shot at getting a Planner 1. Our current Planner 1, Planner 1A, Alex Weiss, has just been fantastic. I've already run this by the planning board because obviously they also need to approve, internally approve this before I come to you. They're on board, and we're currently rewriting the Planner 1B, if you will, to be more, again, that focused on site plan review, special permit review, and zoning.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Councilor
one.
Jordan?
Yeah, so basically, the reason you're downgrading the position, quote unquote, from a 2 to a 1 is you ended up not being able to get somebody to fill the Planner 2 job, or you just felt it was better to have both the same grade?
So I've filled the Planner 2 position once in this office since I've been there, and though he brought a lot to the table, it wasn't a home run, let's say. It was, okay. And so we really think that, people see these job advertisements, and again, as you all know, we're in competition with other cities and towns. And it's a lot. My office has a lot. And the planner 2 position is definitely an elevated position. They're supposed to have some supervision over the clerk. They're supposed to be able to, really understand the general laws. At one point, we adopted the planner 2 position to be more focused on cannabis. That's not as needed as much anymore since that's sort of slowed down. We just sort of incorporate that into the normal work of the planning side of the office. So really, you're exactly right. I hate to use the word downgrade, but yeah, sort of a more of an entry-level position to get that training ground. I mean, it's such, what I've learned in 3 years from site plan reviews and special permit reviews, it's just, you're talking about the streets, the unadopted streets in the city. I mean, we deal with that all the time. It's just so much. So if we can get someone in there that can actually dig their teeth into this stuff, get a handle on it, and then be ready for that next level, it's like create our own training ground, basically.
Right. That makes perfect sense. But one thing I wanted to just ask you about is the expectation among the employees sustainable in terms of pay raises? For example, if you're suggesting that the gentleman, Alex, who's doing a great job for you, comes in at a salary of $50,000, and now you want to give him a $4,000 pay raise, right? That's a 8% pay raise, right? So does Alex think, oh, next year, where's my 8% pay raise again?
No.
Like, for example, how do we get to a point where people are getting, I want to be fair with the employees. People need a 2-3% cost of living adjustment every year. But at the same time, I don't want people to think like 8% is where it's at, because, shouldn't he be getting the same, like you want to hire the other one at $52,000, you give the person a $2,000 raise, it's a 4% increase, you did a good job, Alex, and then maybe next year we got another couple grand we can give you, and it's sustainable, right? Because otherwise it feels like, okay, here's your 4. Now what am I going to get next year? Oh, I did a lousy job. You only gave me 1. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. No.
So if you could address that.
Yeah, absolutely. No. So one of the things I think that my staff will say, I'm very open to all of them, and so we've had this conversation. I've had this exact conversation. Again, if I had, if I'd had the money in my budget last year, and if I had sort of been more, if I had understood the sub budget, what was happening with that, I would have given them a $2,000 raise last year at about 7 to 8 months in, and then a $2,000 raise now. So it wouldn't have been 8% at one time. I am sort of feeling like I really need to keep this person because what he's embedded in, and the amount of training that we provided him on the GIS mapping system and some trainings that we paid for and some stuff that he's done for free, turnover. So I totally agree with you. He's not in expectations of an increase of the 8% next year. And again, this is sort of making up, if you will, for 2 fiscal years, because I wasn't able to give him that raise for that in that first 8 months. You think about most jobs, there's usually a 6-month review. I did that 6-month review, gave him stellar performance, and I just wasn't able to get the money.
And I guess my last question is, have we gotten to a point where we actually have a review system in place?
In my office, I do. Yes,
but it's kind of sad though, still, Aaron, that it's like if you don't create a system, there isn't a system. And this is the other thing I want councilors to be aware of. We still have yet to have a performance evaluation system for employees in this city. And this is something where, we hear often, this person deserves, and this one's great, and this one's wonderful. And there's no objective measure where the good one, everybody has an evaluation system, and the good ones are there's a justification, and the bad ones get 0 or are asked, quite frankly, to leave. And then, we've got to get to that point because it makes these conversations easier.
100%. I'm using the current evaluation tool that's provided through the PSA negotiations. I understand they're creating another one through their negotiations currently, whenever that gets wrapped up. So I've used the current one that's available to me. I did the evaluations in late January. I'm already scheduling them to do either the last 2 weeks of August with vacations, or that first couple weeks of September, because it's a year review process. So it's at the first mark, 6 months in, and then a year later. So I have those, and Kelly in personnel has the copy of all of mine.
Great. Any other questions or comments?
Motion to approve the transfer.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Counselor Jordan?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Devine, yes. Counselor Givner?
Yes.
Counselor Ocasio?
Yes.
Okay, thank
Motion
you
to
very
take up
much.
item 8.
Okay, item 8, just briefly, let me write this down. McGrath, Smith, and Graney ordered that the Director of Economic Development and Planning come into the Finance Subcommittee to discuss the use of cannabis impact fee funds and future implications for us as a city. Aaron, you don't need to be here. I got word from the city solicitor that she would like to have this go to executive session on September 9th. So that's the motion that I would like to hear.
Is that going to be executive session here at finance or
No,
full council?
right before the meeting, yeah. So,
We don't have a meeting on September 9th.
all I know is
I
what-
think you meant the 4th.
4th.
Okay.
Okay, I was told the 9th, but
September
if
4th.
if
I
she
think
meant
there's
the 4th.
another cannabis order later on your agenda. I don't know if you want to add that one in there too.
What is it?
I think there's another cannabis order later on your agenda.
Yep,
Maybe would couple the two of them.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's one on legal fees, right, too.
I don't know.
again, all right, let's go one step at a time. I have executive session for 9/9, but maybe because that's also a finance meeting. I'll get back to you, I'll check with Lisa. but-
Lisa told me it's 5/4.
You mean
Before this-
9/4?
9/4, before your city
Okay,
council meeting.
So
Okay.
no, we don't have a city council meeting on 9/4.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, that's right, because it's a Wednesday, that's
They
right.
moved it to the day
Yeah,
after.
yeah.
The 4th and
Okay.
the 18th are going
Thank
to be
you.
our
Okay, so the 9th will be, the 4th is a regular meeting of the city council, and before that will be executive session. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so,
There's two others, yeah.
okay, I'll make a motion that
Madam
we,
Chair.
who's that?
I think Mike Bissonette said something.
Is that Mike Bissonette?
It is.
Go
Thank
ahead.
you. Item 13 and item 14, I know in speaking with Lisa, she also asked that those would go to the same executive session.
What did he say?
So Mike asked that items 13 and 14 also go to the executive session.
Okay, let's work on this, and then I have something to say about that. Thank you, Counselor. We'll do that. So the executive session on item 8 is going to be 9, our next meeting at 9/4. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, before we take up item, what did Mike say? Okay, item 13 and 14, okay. 14, let's take up first, because that needs to go back to it's kind of like a technicality. That was filed before the end of the fiscal year, so that has to go back to the auditor. So I make a motion that item 14 go back to the auditor.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. And now we'll take up item 13, which is the exact same order that Counselor Bissonette feels that should go to the executive session as well.
So motion to table 13 for the executive session.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Counselor Bissonette. And Yanni?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Counselor?
Counselor Bacon here.
Yeah.
I would just note that those items going to executive session have to be notated and stated why they're going to be in executive session for the agenda, okay?
I know that, thank you.
Thank you.
Jeffrey, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, just a technical question. If the executive session is going to be of the full council, wouldn't these items need to be referred back to the full council for them to take it up in executive session?
I would recommend that the council, it should be on the agenda that the council would make a motion to remove from committee at that meeting or in advance of that meeting. Like, for example, as we're going into executive session, it should be stated on the agenda, we're removing them from committee.
And I believe that's the president of the city council is the one who will say why we are going into executive session. Correct?
Well, it's going to have to be published on the agenda.
Right, I agree.
Yeah, it'll be posted.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, thank you very much, Aaron.
Take care.
Okay, item number 9, filed a motion to take it up.
Motion to take up
Okay,
item 9.
Yanni, thank you very much for your patience. Ordered that in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53A, the City Council hereby accepts the provisions of the Greening the Gateway Cities Program Implementation Grant, $149,760, no match. So take it off the table for discussion, and I believe Yanni is here. Yes, there he is. Yanni, if you could tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a DCR Greening the Gateway Cities program implementation grant. We've gotten it a few times. This will be used for tree pit improvements and stump removals to allow for expansion of the urban canopy. And this time we're also proposing to use some of the funds for some tree planting as part of the improvements for Jones Point Park. Been working with our Parks Director, Tom Reynolds, to get some funding. There's, I think, 42 trees that are on the site plans for the other improvements for the park. So this grant will also be used for installing those. I think that's pretty much the story.
Yoni, can you just repeat 42 trees in which park?
Jones Point Park. This is a park that's outside the state's usual planting zone. So we're hoping to use the grant to plant trees there with this grant, with these funds.
Okay. Any other places on that grant?
There will be 88 sites where we'll do either a stump removal or tree pit improvements. We don't have a full list prepared yet, but I'm working with our DPW and city forester.
Thank you.
There's probably going to be a number of priority tree removals taking place in the near future with the other IRA grant that we have. So we'll be looking at those, and where it's suitable and makes sense to replant, we'll be doing improvements to the site with the grant funds.
Thank you. And there's no match?
No match.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Counselor Sullivan?
Yeah, Yoni, I think one of the things you need to do with this grant, especially around the Jones Point area, is not just the planting of new trees, but just 2 weeks ago, a massive tree fell just shy of the park. If any kids have been playing there, if any cars have been parked there, they've been destroyed. It took out 2 phone poles. That whole area on the left-hand side of the park is covered with these massive trees, and the area, it's just a real threat to the tennis courts, to the baseball diamond, that entire side. And I hope this is being included in the plan as to remediation of all of that. It's becoming overgrown with vines and infringing on that end of the park, but seriously making the park a very, very dangerous place as well.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the overall site improvements. I know there's CPA funding that's going towards the other work in the park. So hopefully, I agree. I hope that's being addressed. But this grant, it can only be used for planting or site improvements.
Well, I would certainly consider this a site improvement to remove trees and things like this that are a real threat to the people using the park.
Right.
Madam Chair.
Yeah. Go ahead, Counselor Givner. She's got the information.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to point out, I understand what Yoni's saying. There's conditions to these grants, so this grant can't be used for, other things. But I don't know. I would imagine that this is not under necessarily the purview of Yoni's office. Maybe it is, but in which case, then I feel like we have to either figure out how to have this addressed. I would think that our city forester would be in charge of cutting trees around the parks, but I'm not sure. So I guess that's my question to anyone present who knows the answer, because generally with a grant, you can only use it for specific things. So while it's nice that we have money, we can't just use it for anything, even if it is for safety reasons. Thanks.
Right, we can use this grant to grind a stump, but not to remove a hazard tree.
And is that does that even go through your office, or do things like that go through the city forester?
City forester.
All right, so if we wanted to, so Jones Park is maintained by the Parks Department, I assume, and do they communicate to the city forester if they need trees cut?
I would think so.
Okay.
I would think so.
So it sounds like we can probably just send a note over to them and ask them to take a look.
Yeah, and years ago, Counselor Jordan will probably know this, the the city forester was in the Parks and Recreation Department.
Right.
That makes
And I think, yeah, and I think it was Mayor Morse who moved him. So I'd love to see him go back there. I'm not sure what his pleasure is, but, you know, that's where he belongs, but that's not our call. But anyways,
Yep.
any questions or anything on this grant?
No, motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Counselor Jordan?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Devine, yes. Counselor Givner?
Yes.
Counselor Ocasio?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you. And one more, Yanni, ordered that in accordance, this is item 10, award, hereby accepts the provisions of FY25 Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Action Grant Award, Daybrook Watershed. That's for $1,229,730, no match. So I hear a motion to take it off the table for discussion.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, if you want to go ahead, Yanni, on this one?
Yep, so this is another EEA grant, Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness. These are state grants for climate resiliency projects. This grant is for the continuation of last year's project. We got funding for site planning and design for green infrastructure at 2 of the Holyoke Public Schools, as well as some concept designs for other locations in Holyoke and community engagement. We got the grant again to advance the project. This will be for actual construction of those facilities at Holyoke High School and Sullivan School. Also, we'll be able to do continued engagement with the students, continuing the artist residency program with the Sullivan School, 6th graders. And this time also doing programming with the high schoolers so they can learn about what's going on. This time it's a 2-year grant. FY25 is going to be mostly spent finalizing the construction documents and the bid documents and bidding out the project for construction, and then actual implementation in FY26. And unlike last year, there used to be a rule that there was a 25% match for these grants. This time, Holyoke is exempted from that requirement. So there's actually no match to these funds required.
Any questions? Hear a motion?
Motion to approve?
All those in favor? Aye. Counselor Jordan?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Devine, yes. Counselor Givner?
Yes.
Counselor Ocasio?
Yes.
Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, thank you, Yanni.
Motion to take up item 15?
Okay, let me just, okay. Item 15 was filed 2/6/24 by Israel Rivera, ordered that the Honorable City Council ask the Police Department to provide us with an itemized budget breakdown of dollars received and expended over the last 5 years. We did take this, a motion to take it off the table.
So moved.
We took it up in March, and the chief could not give us any information until the end of the fiscal year. So since it's been the end of the fiscal year, I'd entertain a motion that we send it to the acting police chief and then have him send the information to the city council.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Counselor, I don't even know if I have to do this, but it's
Yes.
Counselor Jordan, Counselor Sullivan.
Yes.
Counselor Devine, yes. Counselor Givner.
Yes.
Counselor Ocasio.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Motion to take up item 16?
Number 16, from 3/19/2024, from Murphy Ramboletti, ordered that the city council invite the mayor, police department, relevant financial department heads to a future meeting of the finance committee to provide an update on the status of the off-duty police account and former vendor Off-Duty Blue. Counselor Tessa Murphy Ramboletti, do you want to add anything?
If you guys could just table this, I actually have the monthly financial department head meeting tomorrow morning.
Okay.
In the mayor's office, so I'll talk to them. It's usually on the agenda, so
Okay.
I'll keep you guys posted. But the last update I had was just that they had to, they were waiting on some more information from them, so they weren't ready to come in for an update yet. So that's
We'll table
that's all I
that.
got for now.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Motion to table?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Counselor Jordan?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Devine, yes. Counselor Givner?
Yes.
Counselor Ocasio?
Yes.
Okay, thank
Motion
you.
to take up item 16.
17? 17.
That was 16.
Yeah. Okay, this was actually a copy that was filed in March of 2022, and I had Jeffrey check, and that was actually adopted on March 1st, 2022, and sent to the mayor and OPED, so.
Motion to give this leave to withdraw.
That's so I would just say that's been adopted.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Well, no, hold on.
I'm not-
Discussion?
Go ahead.
Right, they've
It's
never.
a copy. It's a copy. I'm pointing out, and I've done this before, this was adopted already in finance, or in, I don't even know if it was ordinance or where it was, but it was adopted in March 1st of 2022. It's 2 years old. It was sent to the mayor and OPED. So I don't see where there's a discussion that should take place. It's a copy. So my motion, I'd like to hear a motion to give it, that it was done.
Can I speak?
Go ahead, Counselor, on a copy. Why weren't you at the meeting when they discussed this back in 2022?
I was.
Well, then why
Were
do you have
you?
to talk about it?
No, you weren't.
I wasn't a city councilor then.
Okay.
I'm not getting into arguments with you. Go ahead and discuss it, but I'm not going through every single copy like this, because they're copies, and you know that.
Am I in an alternate universe? What the hell just happened? I'm just sitting here minding my own damn business.
And you want to
And you
discuss
just,
something
you're going,
again.
You're going wild on me. Okay, can we just, okay, I'm just pointing out, yes, I was here. I'm sure it was adopted, absolutely. The problem is, and why it's an issue is, they haven't provided the copies of the agreements. So the question is, you're adopting things and they're not providing the council with the information. So what would you have the council do when people ask for copies of agreements, which by the way are public records, and they're not provided to the council? What's your solution?
Again, you're the one that filed the order. You should have checked with the mayor's office, and that's what I would suggest that you do.
We did,
Because-
and
well,
they
then-
don't provide it.
Again,
It
then
was
you have to
adopted.
take that up to the mayor, because it was adopted.
It was adopted, right? So why, I think the council should resend the request. I think that's the obvious thing, right? You ask for information and they don't provide it, so.
But this is a copy.
I
It's
don't
not
have
the
a problem
original.
getting rid of it.
It's not the original. It's a copy. The original was already adopted and sent to the mayor.
And you gotta
My suggestion
understand-
would be to check with the mayor and OPED, because it was already done. This is a copy.
I get it, and I understand that's a pet peeve of yours.
Yes, it is.
But before you came here, the council's view was, we send the request to the person, and when they get it back, the council committee where a copy was sent would then digest the materials and then ask for if they needed any follow-up. This is the way the council operated before you came back, okay? If we're gonna change those rules, I have no problem with, you'd have to refile another order. But when the request for information is not honored and provided, this is why these things don't go away. So yes, the council adopted it, but I personally think the obvious one here is just we resend it to them and then we can give it whatever, complied with or what have you. I mean, that seems to me the obvious, right? So I guess if we want to get rid of it, which I don't have a problem with, a request that the mayor's office, that this be a second copy be sent to the mayor's office. And then if he doesn't honor that one, then so be it.
Anybody have any?
So I'll make a motion that it be item 17 be sent to the mayor's office.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those in favor of sending a copy of the original? I don't know, according to Jeffrey, the original was already adopted,
Yep.
so we'll send the copy to the mayor. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No. Okay, so we'll send that to the mayor once again. Item 18, can I hear a motion to take that up?
So moved.
That was 6/4/24 by Israel Rivera. Order that the city put out an RFP to do a study on our finances, specifically focusing on tax revenue brought in and how it is spent throughout the community. This analysis is important in order for the city to have a better understanding of how much tax money is allocated in different parts. This has to be sent to the mayor because we can't do an RFP, only the mayor can, and I did discuss that with Councilor Rivera. So I'd like a motion that we send this to the mayor.
Second.
Any questions, comments?
Analysis is important for having the better understanding of that.
So I can speak to this a little.
Please do.
Okay. I don't know if Izzy's on the line or not.
I don't
He's
see
already-
him.
I've already talked to him about it. He knows I was going to make that proposal.
Okay.
So basically, the idea behind this was to really show people where your taxes go. It's that simple. I mean, we had talked about, why isn't there like a website where your taxes are literally broken down? If you pay, I don't know, $3,000, $5,000 a year in taxes, let's say you pay, $5,000 a year in taxes, it would be broken down so you can look up and see like how much goes to trash, how much goes to sewage, how much goes to water, how much goes to other, municipal departments. And so people could really see where their dollars go, because everybody is always curious about, where their tax money goes. And it seems like a really, probably not as easy to implement, but if there was like a website or something, or maybe through I feel like the tax collector probably knows these things. So it would just be nice if this was a more transparent process. Everybody would like to know where all their tax money goes. And if you had a breakdown, it would just be a really nice thing to add.
So do I hear a motion to send this to the mayor?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Councilor Jordan?
God, the only thing I was just going to ask a couple questions. I know we're trying to either get out of here or speed this up, but I was just asking, the only thing that concerns me about the wording of this is like different parts of of communities. Like, is this we're talking about, because everything Councilor Givner just said sound lovely, but what I'm saying is, are we talking about like Ward 1 versus Ward 2 versus Ward 7, or are we talking about so much to DPW, so much to police, so much to fire? Is that what we're talking about? Like, what is meant by that?
I can only tell you, when I spoke to Councilor Rivera, I told him that we don't have the ability to do an RFP. Only the mayor has the ability to do that.
Okay.
That's why this should be sent to the mayor. To me, it's said it right there, and I'm not trying to get out early. I'm just trying to tell you I'm trying to clear this jacket
Understood.
of things that are 45 days, tabled.
Right.
One of the orders I filed in June was already tabled, and I never got to talk to it because it was 45 days. So that's all I'm trying to do.
Okay.
So I'd like to hear a motion to send this to the mayor, as I indicated to Councilor Rivera, and he was happy with that.
It's been seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Councilor
Aye.
Jordan?
Yes.
Councilor Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilor Devine, yes. Councilor Givner?
Yes.
Councilor Ocasio?
Yes.
So that'll go to the mayor.
Motion to take up item 19.
19 was filed on 4/16/24 by Bartley, Israel Rivera, and Sullivan. The mayor and the DPW finance speed humps at Laurel Street. Please see petition approved in ordinance. And I hope the full city council on 4/17/24. This was referred to the mayor and finance. Finance can't approve, they can't start the money trail. Only the mayor can do that. So you can certainly talk about it since it's your order, Councilor Sullivan. I was just going to refer it to the mayor.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so.
Second.
Any questions? So we'll take a motion that this goes to the mayor. Councilor Jordan?
Yes.
Councilor Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilor Devine, yes. Councilor Givner?
Yes.
Councilor Ocasio, yes. Okay, so
Motion.
that'll go to the mayor.
Motion
Thank
to take
you.
up item 20.
Item 20, and this is from 4/2/24. Bartley and Jordan ordered that the pedestrian signal on South Street still flashing yellow after 2 months and having an estimated repair cost of $11,000, and DPW uses capital stabilization funds to fix the light and to communicate updates to the seniors residing in Elmwood Towers. So can we take that up for discussion?
So moved.
You may be able to talk about this, Councilor Jordan, because
Yep.
a lot has gone on since April, and I think we should have just referred it to the DPW with an update to the full city council. I did get and I put it on everybody's desk last week, that they are going to do the, make sure that there's a bell ringing when somebody wants to cross, to have all those taken care of. So is there something else that you know about that we need to talk about?
The fire department alarm division is also involved in this.
Okay.
And I would request that, that we adopt this, send it over to them, and that they give us an update and please install, like get going and give us, find out what's going on. I think there's supposed to be putting together the acquisition of the parts and repairs on this, so that was Rob Weller in the alarm
Okay.
division has been involved. So I would ask that, we could send a DPW too, but definitely the alarm division at the fire department, and let us know where are we at. Do they need money? Are they ordering things? We want to get this thing fixed to protect the residents.
So if I hear you, so we'd refer it to the DPW Fire Alarm Division and report back to the Finance Committee?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Okay.
Yep.
Everybody okay with that?
I'll make that as a motion. Yeah, please.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Counselor Jordan?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Devine? Yes. Counselor Givner?
Yes.
Counselor Ocasio?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to take up
Thank
item
you.
21.
Second.
21 is 4224 from Counselor Givner with community support order that the law department provide status, I'm assuming that's stat, of pothole claims over the last 10 years, along with the percentages of claims approved and denied. My note says, has this been done?
That hasn't been done, but I feel like we already approved getting rid of the $15 fee for pothole claims.
yeah,
So
we
the
did.
point with this was to support why we don't need them. But I think since we've already passed it, I would motion to give this leave to withdraw.
Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And the next one
Motion to take up item 22.
is
Second.
from 4224, Divine ordered that the attached letter from Chief David Pratt be added to the next agenda. I'll take your motion just to adopt it because it was a letter that he sent to the committee, not the Finance Committee, the regular committee, and for some reason, I don't know if it got to everybody. So that's all I'm saying, is whatever letter he sent, that it be adopted.
And now that letter that he sent, is that here tonight?
Okay.
Yeah, it's
It's in
item
the
22.
packet?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just do
Yeah.
a quick double
It's
check.
got a full list of all
All the things that-
vehicles and everything that the
wanted-
repair person does.
Just wanted to see what letter, because he's had a couple different letters.
Yeah, this has it's pretty specific.
Oh, okay, this one's related to vehicles, and
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was another letter talking about other things that he's done. Okay, very good. Yep,
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Motion to take up item 23.
Okay, this is a copy of January 22nd, 2024 by Jordan, that the mayor please provide the city council with his plan to bring our structural budget deficit to zero in FY95 budget, including a plan that does not raise the tax levy by more than $1 million per year. Again, this was a copy, and from my understanding, it was adopted on 1/22/24 and sent to the mayor.
you're exactly right. We never did receive a response from the mayor on this, but this can be considered complied with.
Okay.
We sent it, it's all set. He obviously didn't do this. He didn't bring the structural budget deficit to zero, and he certainly didn't keep the tax levy to 1 million. It's over 3 million increase. So, but that's his choice. He's the mayor.
So the motion is that this has been complied with?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Motion to take up item 24.
24, September 5th of 2023, from Bartley, ordered that the city engineer redesign and the DPW replace the traffic island proximate to 2 Brown Avenue and 274 South Street for the purpose of creating public parking spaces. This is the area that was left after the road work to alter Brown Avenue was completed, and it's in need of alterations. The plan to increase parking, supported by the affected residents, referred to the city engineer, and then it was referred to the Finance Committee and the mayor. So we can take it up, it's a copy. So I think it was, from what I understand, it was taken up and sent to the mayor. So if we want to do the same thing, and I haven't heard from Counselor Bartley, so
I am, his request to me, so he did call me, because he's out of town, so he wanted to share that. One is he requested that this just remain tabled. If for nothing else, then the neighbors are very concerned about the density in that situation and the area being a dead end in that one section there. And there's a lot going on and a lot of moving parts. So he's trying to just keep awareness with the engineer and the DPW on it. So he's hoping that this can get wrapped up as soon as possible and then give it complied with. So he's requesting if it could just be tabled again.
so he's requesting that the copy be tabled. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to take up item
And-
25.
Will Counselor Bartley get back to us when he's done with getting
Yes,
the
I'll
information?
I'll ask
Thank you.
Dave to get back to you, sure.
Okay, item 25, August 1st of 2023, it's also a copy. Order that the city council review and adopt the mayor's proposal for the city financial policies by ordinance. And this was referred to ordinance committee.
Yep, so this can be considered complied with. It's still sitting over in ordinance. This is all set.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. All those in favor?
Aye. Motion to take
Okay.
up item 26.
That was also 8/123, a copy from Joshua Garcia, emails providing from various department heads in regard to financial policies manual. My understanding is that was also referred to ordinance.
Yep, this is all set. Same with
So
27.
complied,
Yep.
okay. And then 27, City of Holyoke Financial Policies Manual from Division of Local Services, Department of Revenue, that was also received and referred to ordinance.
So is the motion that items 26 and 27 are complied with?
Yes.
So moved, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Did you say no?
To adjourn.
You said
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
I second your motion.
second, all those in favor? Thank you. Kevin, we need to talk about something?
Yes, please, yeah,
Okay.
before we go, yeah, thank
All
you.
right, thank you, everybody.
Have a good
Thank
night,
you, Jeff.
everyone.
Thank you, everybody that was in
Thanks, everybody.
attendance.